The Catalyst. The colony of New Eden was everything its name promised, a pristine world of rolling hills and crystal lakes, where humanity had built a life far from the politics of the inner systems. The settlement of Vale Springs was home to just over 10,000 souls, mostly farmers and researchers who had chosen a simpler life on the frontier. They had no way of knowing that their peaceful existence would become the catalyst for the greatest military response in human history. Commander Ryland Nash stood at the observation post on Vale Springs' modest defense station, scanning the morning reports. The colony's defenses were minimal, a few automated turrets and a basic shield system. The Arcturian Empire's expansion had been a growing concern, but New Eden was far from their usual territory. No one expected them to strike here. The first warning came as a ripple in the quantum detection grid. Within seconds, the sky split open as hundreds of Arcturian warships dropped out of hyperspace, their obsidian hulls blocking out the morning sun. Nash's hands trembled as he hit the emergency broadcast button, but it was already too late. The Arcturians didn't bother with demands or ultimatums. Their ships opened fire, purple energy beams cutting through Vale Springs' shields like paper. The colony's minimal defenses crumbled in seconds. Nash watched in horror as the first wave of dropships descended, carrying the Empire's infamous shock troops. What followed wasn't a battle, it was a massacre. The Arcturian soldiers, encased in their crystalline armor, moved through the streets with mechanical precision. They weren't there to conquer or subjugate. This was about sending a message. In the central plaza, Professor Thea Harrison tried to lead a group of children to safety. She had been teaching them about terraforming when the attack began. The youngest, 6-year-old James, clutched his data tablet like a shield. The Arcturian troops found them hiding in the Agricultural Research Center. The soldier's helmet revealed no emotion as he raised his weapon. Thea threw herself in front of the children, but the energy blast went through her and into the group behind. In that single moment, 23 lives ended, not for any strategic value, but simply because the Empire wanted to demonstrate its power. The news reached Earth within hours. In the United Earth Defense Council chamber, Admiral Viktor Petrov watched the footage in silence. His weathered face betrayed no emotion, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the edge of the conference table. "They killed them all," General Diana Rodriguez reported, her voice steady but her eyes burning with rage. 3,412 civilians. No military targets, no strategic value. They just killed them. The room was silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Arcturian Empire had been expanding for centuries, crushing any resistance with overwhelming force. They expected Earth to respond like all the others, with fear and submission. They didn't know about the Dreadnoughts. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in caverns that had been hollowed out over generations, humanity's real fleet waited. 500,000 ships, each one larger than a small city, built in absolute secrecy, while the rest of the galaxy saw Earth as a minor power with a handful of defensive vessels. The truth was very different. Admiral Petrov stood, his decision made. Send the signal. All commanders to their ships. The Empire wanted to send a message. Let's send one back. Across the solar system, hidden hangars began to open. On Europa, beneath the ice, in the clouds of Venus, in asteroid bases and underground facilities on every major moon and planet. Humanity's dreadnoughts awakened, their crews boarding in silence, each person carrying the weight of those lost on New Eden. These weren't just warships. They were humanity's insurance policy, built over generations in preparation for exactly this kind of threat. Each dreadnought carried enough firepower to level a continent, protected by shields that could withstand the heat of a star. As the first ships began to rise from their hidden bases, Admiral Petrov sent one final message to the Council. The Empire thinks they know humanity's strength. They think they can terrorize us into submission. Today they learn how wrong they are. Today, we show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. The dreadnoughts gathered in high orbit, their massive forms reflecting the sun's light like artificial stars. 500,000 ships, each one a testament to human determination and ingenuity. The Empire had started this war with an act of senseless cruelty. Humanity would end it with overwhelming force. The countdown began. Across the fleet, crews prepared for their first jump. The Empire's nearest stronghold was 3 days away at maximum speed. They would never see this coming. All ships, battle stations, Petrov's voice echoed across the fleet. For New Eden. The response came back from 500,000 crews. For New Eden. The sky above Earth lit up as humanity's hidden fleet made its first jump. The Empire had wanted to send a message. Now they would receive one in return. The hidden arsenal. The Arcturian Empire's high command was in chaos. Reports were flooding in from their outer defense networks, massive energy signatures, unlike anything they had ever seen before. Fleet Admiral Xarin, a veteran of 100 campaigns, stared at the tactical display with disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered, his crystalline features reflecting the red warning lights. "These readings, they suggest thousands of capital ships. Earth doesn't have this capability." But the evidence was undeniable. The quantum sensors didn't lie. A fleet of unprecedented size was moving through space with deadly purpose, heading straight for the Empire's primary military installation in the Centauri sector. Deep within the lead dreadnought, the Retribution, Fleet Commander Olivia Chen studied the battle plans. Unlike the Empire's gaudy vessels, Earth's dreadnoughts were studies in pragmatic engineering. Every curve, every angle served a purpose. The ships themselves were a testament to humanity's patience. Decades of secret construction, countless resources poured into their creation. Signal from Earth Command. Her communications officer reported. The second and third waves are launching now. Olivia nodded. The plan was simple but brilliant. While the first wave of 100,000 dreadnoughts headed straight for the Empire's stronghold, the remaining forces would split into smaller fleets, striking at multiple targets simultaneously. The Empire would have no choice but to divide their forces. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Raj Patel monitored the massive quantum drives that powered the vessel. Each dreadnought contained enough energy to power a small planet, carefully controlled by systems that had been perfected over generations. The Empire thought they were the masters of advanced technology. They were about to learn otherwise. "All ships, prepare for tactical jump." Olivia's voice echoed through the fleet. "Remember your training. Remember New Eden." The dreadnoughts moved in perfect formation, their massive hulls gleaming in the starlight. They had trained for this moment in secret for years, running countless simulations, but now it was real. The Empire's response was predictably arrogant. They scrambled their nearest fleet, a force of 5,000 ships that would have overwhelmed any normal opponent. Against the dreadnoughts, it was like sending rowboats against battleships. The first engagement lasted less than an hour. The Empire's ships, for all their advanced weapons, couldn't penetrate the dreadnoughts' layered shields. Meanwhile, the humans' main guns, massive railguns firing projectiles at near light speed, tore through the Imperial vessels like paper. Back on Earth, the Defense Council watched the battle unfold. For generations, they had maintained the secret of the Dreadnought program. While the rest of humanity built colonies and traded with alien races, a significant portion of Earth's resources had gone into this hidden fleet. The construction facilities on Mars alone were the size of continents, hidden beneath the red planet's surface. Similar installations existed throughout the solar system, all carefully concealed from prying eyes. The Empire's spies had seen what they were meant to see, a modest space force, barely worth noticing. Admiral Petrov addressed the council. The Empire believes they understand war. They think it's about terror and dominance. But humanity. He paused, watching another Imperial squadron vanish from the tactical display. Humanity knows war is about preparation, about patience, about being willing to wait generations to ensure victory. The Dreadnought's advance continued relentlessly. Each ship was a self-contained city, capable of operating independently for years if necessary. Their crews were the best humanity had to offer, trained in secret facilities, sworn to protect Earth at any cost. As news of the battle spread, other alien races watched in stunned silence. Many had suffered under the Empire's expansion, but none had dared to resist. Now they watched as humanity did the impossible, not just fighting back, but overwhelming the supposedly invincible Imperial forces. In the Arcturian capital, the Emperor himself received the reports with growing fury. His advisors had assured him that Earth was a minor power, barely worth noticing. Now his military installations were being systematically destroyed by ships that shouldn't exist. How did they hide this? He demanded. How did we not know? The answer was simple but humbling. Humanity had been patient, while the Empire built its forces openly. Terrorizing the galaxy with displays of power, Earth had worked in secret. Every diplomatic concession, every seemingly weak response to Imperial aggression, had been carefully calculated to maintain the deception. Commander Olivia watched from her bridge as another Imperial fortress fell to the Dreadnoughts' guns. The Empire had built its reputation on fear, believing that showing strength meant displaying it constantly. They never understood that real strength could be hidden, waiting for the right moment. The next target was already on her display. A major Imperial shipyard. The Empire would learn that their cruelty had awakened something they couldn't control. Humanity's vengeance would reshape the galaxy, one system at a time. As the Dreadnoughts prepared for their next jump, Olivia thought of the children who died on New Eden. The Empire thought killing civilians would demonstrate their power. Instead, it had revealed their weakness. They didn't understand that true strength comes not from the ability to take life, but from the patience to wait for the right moment to act. The Dreadnoughts moved as one, their massive forms disappearing into hyperspace. The Empire's lesson was just beginning. First blood. The Imperial shipyard at Proxima Centauri was the Empire's pride. A massive complex of orbital platforms and construction facilities that had produced warships for centuries. Now it was about to become the site of the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Chorus, commander of the Imperial Home Fleet, had assembled every available ship to defend the shipyard. 10,000 vessels, from nimble fighters to massive battlecruisers, formed a defensive wall around the facility. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an invincible force. The Dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace like avenging giants. Their formation was perfect, a testament to countless hours of training. Leading the assault was the Retribution, its massive hull scarred from previous engagements, but still imposing. Enemy fleet holding position. Tactical Officer Wei reported on the Retribution's bridge. They'd formed a classic Imperial defense pattern. Commander Olivia studied the holographic display. The Empire's tactics were predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. But against the Dreadnoughts, such tactics were useless. All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta, she ordered. Show them what these ships can really do. The Dreadnoughts' response was devastating. Instead of engaging in traditional ship-to-ship combat, they demonstrated capabilities the Empire had never seen. Massive energy fields projected from the human vessels, creating zones where Imperial ships simply ceased to function. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields as if they didn't exist. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Raj coordinated with his teams as they pushed the Dreadnought systems to their limits. These ships weren't just weapons. They were the pinnacle of human engineering, designed to be superior to anything the Empire could field. The battle quickly turned into a slaughter. Imperial ships, despite their advanced technology, couldn't penetrate the Dreadnoughts' defenses. Meanwhile, the human vessels methodically destroyed everything in their path. They're breaking formation, Wei announced. The Imperial fleet is retreating. But retreat wasn't an option. The Dreadnoughts' quantum drives allowed them to predict and intercept any escape attempt. The Empire's mighty armada was being systematically demolished. Admiral Chorus watched in horror from his flagship as his fleet was torn apart. The Empire had never encountered anything like these ships. Their weapons were beyond anything Imperial science had achieved, their defenses impenetrable. "My lord," his aide reported, "we're detecting energy buildups in the human vessels. They're preparing something." The Dreadnoughts' main guns fired simultaneously. The combined energy release was visible from planetary surfaces throughout the system. When the light faded, the Imperial shipyard and half its defensive fleet had simply ceased to exist. Back on Earth, the Defense Council received the battle reports with grim satisfaction. The Dreadnoughts weren't just winning. They were revolutionizing space warfare. Every engagement proved that humanity's secret preparations had been worth the enormous investment. The Empire thought they knew war, Admiral Petrov told the Council. They thought it was about who had the most ships, the biggest guns. "We're showing them that true military power comes from innovation, from thinking beyond conventional tactics." The surviving Imperial ships retreated in disarray, transmitting desperate warnings to other Imperial facilities. But it was too late. Even as the battle at Proxima Centauri ended, other dreadnought fleets were striking throughout Imperial space. Commander Olivia stood on her bridge, watching the debris of the Imperial fleet drift through space. The Empire had built its reputation on fear and overwhelming force. Now they were learning what it meant to face an enemy that had spent generations preparing for this moment. "All ships, prepare for pursuit," she ordered. "The Empire needs to understand that there's nowhere to hide. Not anymore." The Dreadnoughts reformed their formation, their massive hulls casting shadows across the wreckage of the Imperial fleet. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a message to the galaxy. Humanity had been patient, had waited and prepared. Now the Empire would pay for every world they had terrorized, every life they had taken. As the fleet prepared for its next jump, Olivia thought about how the Empire had dismissed humanity as weak, as unworthy of notice. That presumption had cost them everything. The Dreadnoughts were humanity's response to generations of Imperial arrogance, and their work was just beginning. Reckoning. The Imperial throne world of Arcturus Prime hung like a dark jewel in space, its crystalline cities reflecting the light of 3 suns. For millennia, it had been the unassailable heart of the Empire's power. Now it was the last bastion of a dying regime. What remained of the Imperial fleet, nearly 50,000 ships, formed a desperate defensive sphere around their homeworld. The Emperor had recalled every surviving vessel, knowing this would be their final stand. All dreadnoughts, battle positions. Commander Olivia's voice rang across the human fleet. The surviving ships, still numbering over 300,000 despite their losses, moved with practiced precision. The culmination of humanity's vengeance was at hand. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor watched the approaching fleet with something approaching fear, an emotion he had never experienced before. "How?" he asked his advisors. "How did we not see this coming?" The answer was simple but profound. The Empire had been so focused on displaying their power that they never considered others might be hiding theirs. On the Retribution's bridge, Olivia reviewed the battle plan one final time. This wasn't just about victory anymore. It was about reshaping the galaxy. The Empire had to fall in a way that would ensure no power ever again attempted such brutal dominion. "All ships, initiate final protocol," she commanded. The dreadnoughts began their approach, their massive forms casting shadows across Arcturus Prime's surface. This time, there would be no elaborate tactics, no complex strategies, just overwhelming force, applied with surgical precision. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Empire's ships fought with desperate fury, knowing defeat meant the end of everything they had built. But the dreadnoughts were relentless, their advanced technology making Imperial defenses seem primitive by comparison. Quantum torpedoes phased through Imperial shields. Relativistic railguns punched through crystalline hulls. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were reduced to debris in moments. The Emperor watched from his throne room as his fleet was systematically destroyed. Each explosion in orbit was visible from the surface, a fiery display of his empire's collapse. When the final defensive line broke, he knew it was over. Commander Olivia's message was broadcast across all frequencies. Your empire is finished. Surrender now, and we'll show more mercy than you ever did. The response came not from the Emperor, but from his people. The crystalline citizens of Arcturus Prime, long held in check by fear and propaganda, rose up. They had seen their invincible empire broken, had witnessed the price of their leader's cruelty. The Emperor's own guard turned against him, their crystalline forms surrounding his throne. In the end, the mighty ruler of the Arcturian Empire surrendered not to humanity's dreadnoughts, but to his own people. As the sun set on Arcturus Prime, Olivia stood on her bridge, watching the imperial capital's peaceful surrender. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "It's done." The aftermath would reshape galactic society. The Empire's territories were freed, its resources redistributed to those it had oppressed. Humanity emerged not as conquerors, but as liberators, a force for justice in a galaxy that had forgotten what that meant. Admiral Petrov addressed the Earth Defense Council one final time. The dreadnoughts were built to ensure humanity's survival. They succeeded beyond our wildest expectations. Now comes the harder task, building a lasting peace. The fleet began its long journey home, leaving behind a changed galaxy. The Empire's fall served as a reminder to all species. True strength lies not in cruelty or domination, but in patience, preparation, and the willingness to stand against tyranny. Commander Olivia made one final log entry before setting course for Earth. The Empire thought killing innocent civilians would demonstrate their power. Instead, it revealed their weakness. They never understood that real strength comes not from the ability to take life, but from the wisdom to know when and how to use power. That was their final lesson, and their ultimate undoing. The dreadnoughts disappeared into hyperspace, their mission complete. Humanity had revealed itself as a force for justice in the galaxy, and the stars themselves seemed brighter for it. The Empire's cruelty had sparked humanity's response, but it was humanity's wisdom that had changed the galaxy forever.